Hey guys, it's your boy Brainsy. Welcome to another workout grind. This is day 54 already. It's 5:55 p.m. I'm trying to work out as fast as I can just so I can afterwards work help out downstairs. Anyways, today's a really good day. It's Monday and I'm gonna do some workouts. Hopefully I can do that. In the event although I'm happy that I've been able to actually try to work out, it also means that lately I've been feeling like I'm not really locked on with my programming skills. I don't. It's like I can't focus on two things at once. I have to either work out or do programming. Can't do both apparently. Well, I think it's just for now. But anyways, the thing that I've been sad to see is that I've broken my streak in my GitHub. Uh, I'm After creating the project Purcada, I was trying to find some jobs, and when I look at the job market and the list of requirements that people wanted, they needed a degree. But even so, if there's no degree, they will need full rights to work, and that's a big problem for me because, as you know, I'm a student visa and I have limited work rights, and people will question you about it, and then they're gonna be like, I'm not really interested with someone with work restrictions, and so uh, it's a bit of a problematic thing because I'm really scared. I'm really scared where I'm going with here. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna get PR. I'm not really sure where this is going. All those anxieties, you know. All I can do is just really try my best to do the best I can to refine my skills and to get things done. But I don't know. At the end of the day, it's all just chances. So yeah, with all that being said, with all those researches, we've seen some Reddit posts about very bleak comments about how it's basically impossible for you to find a job, impossible for you to land a PR here as a software engineer because a lot of people have been coming in here, and lots of people have picked up on software development when COVID days. So a lot of oversaturation in the entry levels or junior levels. Seniors are apparently fine, but that goes to most jobs. Honestly, you get major senior roles, something you get basically indispensable to a lot of things, a lot of industries. So yeah, right now I'm just trying to set my foot to things, and it's pretty hard because I don't have experience. I don't know what to say. And I'm pretty overwhelmed with that. And so I just kind of stopped. I'm at a crossroad here. Do I just create more projects? Do I just keep on looking for jobs or whatever? And sorry about that. I think I'm just gonna stick on trying to make projects, then casually ask around, try to apply some jobs here and there if I can. I'm gonna try to look for roles that says no work rights conditions, but I could try to say that to people that hey, I can actually work um 8 hours. I mean full work rights in weekdays, but uh you should restrict me my work conditions. Huh? What the fuck am I saying? I don't know. And I had a talk with my teacher before. She said that I'm pretty good. I have the talent. I have the skill, the knowledge. I just really need to work on my confidence. Apparently, I'm not really showing it that I'm really confident with my work. Of course, I really am not. I feel like I'm an imposter. I still have so many things to learn, and I need to absorb them as much as I can, but at the end of the day, I'm still pretty much a beginner and I need to learn more. And I'm pretty sure I could learn more if I'm in the industry, but like, yeah, people expect you to already have these kinds of experiences if they're gonna hire you. So, uh, it's the classic old catch-21, you know. But yeah, I guess I should practice more of if how to be more confident, how to like project yourself to be someone who is knowledgeable at the topic, and you don't shy away when talked about how your experiences are in regards to a lot of things. If you say, "Are you confident with Python?" I say, "Hell yeah, man!" I actually have been tutoring a lot of students who are having problems back when I was in university because I excel at programming languages, including Python, something like that. In reality, I didn't really do that. I mean, I did teach a lot of people, and I did actually become an examiner and a proctor in an international school coding Olympiad in Hong Kong in Python language. I could say that, but at the end of the day, I'm pretty much a basic user of Python. You know, like I don't know, but yeah. See, I don't say that apparently. I just say my experiences with this, and I convey them. I really am confident. I've built a lot of frame. I actually did. What the fuck? Why am I so not confident about this? Just feel like I'm such a beginner all the time. In reality, I'm not. I'm not a beginner at Java. I have exposed myself to a lot of Java functions, and I've studied data structures uh, in counterpart for that one. So I really should be. I really should be confident more. I guess it's just a clash of my identity as a person. I always wanted to be that guy who's like low key, like in the protagonist thing in animes where like people don't expect much of you. You're the low key type of person, but when the situation arises and everybody is at panic, the fucking the loner guy, the nobody in the class shows up and be like, I can do that. People be like, oh no, you can't, and then he shows this cool shit. I so much like that character. I want to emanate that kind of character, but apparently that's not a thing here in real world. You really do have to show that you're confident in something, so that people can recognize your talent and skill, and then they're going to treat you the way you um the way you should have been treated a long time ago. You're a really talented person. It gives a lot of benefits if you show your true skill. Man, there's so many things I need to change in my character just for society. Fucking stupid society. Anyways, I'm gonna just work out now. It's been been taking way too long as usual, talking to myself and whatever. So that's pretty much it. I'm just doing this and that, whatever the fuck. I'm not doing any haircuts, and I'm thinking of just sticking to it. It's getting a bit longer now. I just wanted to have this two-part type of shit. It feels like it looks good on me. I mean, I could do the short thing as well, but like I'm gonna stick into this, and I'm gonna try to trim it. It gets too long. But yeah, this is it. I'm gonna try to work out now. I'm setting up my smartwatch, setting up the biceps thingies. And we're gonna. As you can see, there's a lot of bats going on here. They're not really good. I haven't been working out for a while. Hopefully, you can fix it. But anyways, we're just gonna start. I'm calling my girlfriend as well, so we haven't called for the whole day, and I just wanna talk to her for a little bit, you know. Anyways, I'm just gonna reset the timer. Off the races we go, bro. Timer. What the fuck? Wi-Fi, this is the timer. Alright, so I really wanted to listen to educational content while working out, but I just can't do it, man. There's too much distraction. You're using your brain and your body. So I'm just gonna go back to TED Ed. Yeah.
The six-legged creature creeps down the canopy, extends its slender trunk, and pierces the ground. Up comes blood. This is no regular forest. Living where the scalp meets the hair, these nightmarish figures are in fact sesame seed-sized insects, otherwise known as head lice. The earliest archaeological evidence of humans' close-knit relationship with lice is a fully preserved egg, discovered in the hair of a 10,000-year-old Brazilian mummy. And it seems that for as long as we've had lice, we've fought hard to get rid of them. Knit combs, the fine-toothed brushes used to remove lice and their sticky eggs, have been found among the ancient remains of cultures across the globe. This battle continues today, as it's estimated we spend billions of dollars each year treating infestations. So why are lice so difficult to get rid of? There are at least several thousand louse species, as nearly all mammals deal with these parasites. Humans are pestered by 3 different types, each specialized to roam its own unique bodily terrain. Pediculus humanus capitis live exclusively on heads and are equipped with hook-like claws that are perfectly fitted to human scalp hair. Pediculus humanus, or body lice, spend most of their lives embedded in clothing and bedding, and crawling onto any nearby body part for their feedings. In order to thrive in these changing environments, body lice are more resilient to fluctuations in temperatures and humidity. Meanwhile, pubic lice, also known as crab lice, are an entirely different species. While they also live on hair, their claws are larger than head lice, as they're fitted to grasp onto the thicker cuticles found in pubic areas. Among these 3 varieties, head lice are the most common. In the US alone, it's estimated 6 to 12 million children deal with infestation each year. Contrary to popular fears about catching lice from hats or hairbrushes, most cases spread through direct head-to-head contact. You see, head lice can only survive about 24 hours without a host to feed on. They're wingless and they can't jump, so the only way they can infest a new head is to crawl. They can detect a new host by using their antenna to home in on body heat and other chemical compounds that naturally emanate from the scalp. Once they arrive on a new head, they're ready to eat. A louse pierces the scalp with a retractable tube-like mouth and releases a special saliva that contains factors that open up blood vessels and help prevent clotting. This chemical cocktail is also what makes the scalp feel itchy. Symbiotic bacteria living in louse's gut complement this blood meal by providing the additional vitamins and minerals that the louse needs to survive. The scalp is also where lice mate. Once mated, female lice can lay up to 8 eggs, called nits, per day. She deposits each egg on the hair just a few millimeters above the scalp and coats it with a sticky knit sheath, which provides hydration and other factors the egg needs to survive. This sheath hardens, tightly cementing the knit to the hair until it hatches 8 to 9 days later. You can't get rid of a lice infestation without taking care of this sticky egg problem. While insecticide shampoos kill hatched lice, they're ineffective against eggs. And knit sheaths are strong, waterproof, and resistant to chemical breakdown. Scientists hope to bring some new tools to this old battle by identifying treatments that can dismantle individual components in the knit sheath, like those that hydrate the egg and keep it alive. But until then, there's only one tool that's been shown to effectively remove eggs, and it's the same one that was used by ancient cultures: a fine-toothed knitcomb. Lice are certainly stubborn survivors, but perhaps one day, with the help of science, these ancient parasites will haunt our nightmares and scalps no more. Do you ever feel like you don't know enough about your own body? Subscribe to this channel to learn about everything from baldness to muscle growth to why we have hair in such random places. Stay tuned and stay curious.
Braille Skateboarding paid his employees roughly $20 per hour,
We're basically minimum wage employees.
but donated over $1 million to the Church of Scientology. He'd gone to spend so much time with the strange organization that Braille was neglected until it died completely, in what is quite possibly YouTube's strangest ever downfall. The channel's owned by Aaron Cairo, a pro skateboarder from San Francisco.
My name's Aaron Cairo, and I run this channel, Braille Skateboarding.
He started Braille Skateboarding just 12 days after YouTube's launch, uploading the clips that he'd used to gain his sponsors. But when a simple video titled How to Push on a Skateboard gained more views than every other upload, Aaron Cairo saw an opportunity. He'd upload How to Ollie, then How to Nose Manual. This led to How to Pop Shove, and most notably How to Kickflip, each gaining massive view counts for the early days of YouTube. Braille made tutorials on every possible trick, giving the channel purpose and an obvious direction to help everyone learn how to skateboard.
The whole purpose of Braille Skateboarding to teach you guys to progress on your boards so you're having more fun on your boards.
These videos carried the channel to over 200,000 subscribers, but as Aaron Cairo became more known, so did another completely unrelated video. I am a Scientologist, Aaron Skateboarder.
My name is Aaron, I'm a skateboarder, and I'm also a Scientologist.
During a vulnerable period in Aaron's life, Scientology offered him a free personality test.
And on my personality test, my communication was really low. And then they suggested you should do a communication course.
Aaron took the course and saw significant improvement.
And it totally helped me communicate. It helped me a lot. And from that point forward, I just had this ability to communicate. It helped me a lot.
Getting him hooked on the Church of Scientology.
So then I did more courses from there and learned more. And
He'd argue it helped him improve his skateboarding.
the thing that happened before Scientology and after was I was learning tricks a lot easier. Things were just coming to me a lot easier with less effort.
And that Scientology gave him his career.
And now I built an entire career on communicating.
Yet all of his success could have easily been explained by simple repetition, practice, and week-on-week improvement. Between 2013 and 2014, he was uploading twice a day every day, which guaranteed improvement regardless of Scientology.
We now have 400,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big deal.
With the channel growing rapidly, Aaron hired Lance Silber, who also happened to be a Scientologist himself. Lance became Braille's main filmer and editor, as well as the channel's guinea pig who was learning how to skate. Videos of Aaron teaching Lance basic tricks did surprisingly well despite their simplicity, as skaters could watch and learn something new themselves. This seemed to tell Aaron that he should hire more skaters, and would therefore introduce Gabe Cruz, who'd suggest a slightly unconventional upload, a game of skate but on Walmart boards. Aaron thought the video would make him a joke amongst pro skaters, but it rather did the opposite as everybody loved it. They'd therefore do the same thing with mini boards and longboards, turning it into a series called Stupid Skate, playing the game with crazy modified skateboards. There was a skateboard with suspension, one with 10 sets of trucks, and one you could ride on either side. It seemed the crazier the board, the more views they'd gain, leading things to be taken to the extreme.
We're gonna make a new series and it's gonna be called Skate Everything. And we get random things and we Attach skateboard trucks and wheels to it, and then we skate on it.
They planned on putting wheels on random different items, beginning with a skinny plank of wood, then upgrading to a sharp square of metal. However, by only the third episode, Aaron was skating an iPad, which was simply too brutal for people not to click.
I'm gonna feel so bad to drill a hole in this iPad. I wanna make this video, it's all Lance's fault. Blame Lance.
When the video attracted a whole new audience and gained 3 million views in under a month, Aaron knew he'd found the perfect series. He'd repeat the idea with a MacBook, then a keyboard, then with a flat screen TV. When they ran out of electronics, they'd skate a full-size bedroom door, a surfboard and a skate shoe, generating so much channel interest they'd gain almost 600,000 subscribers over a 2-month period in 2016.
You guys are the best, the absolute best.
Because we just hit 3 million subscribers.
In fact, Braille skateboarding became so popular, they'd build their own skate park called Braille House, which acted as their own personal filming studio. I found myself running an actual company, says Cairo, who had 3 full-time professionals running the video editing, merchandising, and finance departments. He'd also hire another 3 on-screen skaters, Fetty Potter, Carlos Lastra, and Nigel Jones. But this wasn't only where Braille's money went. Between 2015 and 2017, Aaron Cairo did 16 Scientology courses, many of which were incredibly expensive. The L10 Rundown, for example, has an estimated cost of roughly $72,000, and this doesn't include the L11 and L12, both of which Aaron completed at the same time. Additionally, Aaron completed something called OT3, which according to Reddit, the running tally to complete OT3 would be $278,000. This ignores that he eventually went up to OT6, presumably costing even more, yet Aaron believed that all of this was worth it. An article on his training wrote, L10 was a particularly revelatory experience for him. The gains and abilities are so high, I could not even dream they would be available. My space is so big and so clean, and my flows are wide open. I got rid of masses that had been in my space for trillions of years. I truly uncovered my basic goodness and rightness as a being. He's still having daily cognitions directly related to L10, and his online traction has seen a noticeable uptick, which to be fair was certainly true. The channel was gaining so many views, and all of the members were having so much fun, that the massive amounts being spent on Scientology simply weren't a major concern. They'd continue to ride different exotic skateboards, and allow the audience to send in their own, resulting in some of the channel's highest viewed videos. The Lego skateboard gained 8 million views, the heaviest skateboards gained 11 million, whilst the glass board with glass wheels gained 28 million views. But the trend of wacky skateboards was slowly getting stale. Viewers knew what to expect in every single upload, and after over 200 episodes, each variation was becoming less interesting. To make matters worse, at around the same time, Lance announced that he'd be leaving, which added to the channel's slow viewership decline. In Dumb Data's video about Braille, it's shown that from 2016 to 2019, Braille's views fell by almost 60%, at which point things began to get weird. At this point, Aaron's involvement in Scientology wasn't super mainstream until an article was published titled "The Donors Keeping Scientology Afloat in 2019," with Aaron Cairo being pictured at the top. It explained that he'd earned what's called gold meritorious, given to people who donated more than $1 million to Scientology. On a podcast, Aaron tried to play this down.
Don't you need to give the church a certain amount of money each year to be a part, or
No.
you don't have to give them any money?
No. Courses cost a fee. So the communication
shit.
course that I did was $100. And the books are range from $25 to $30.
But his extensive involvement was documented everywhere. He'd appear in yet another Scientology promo video, for which he was heavily roasted in the comments beneath. But negative audience feedback didn't change his feelings.
Somebody said something bad about that, so I'm just gonna stop. Like, no way.
And to be honest, again at this point, his involvement in Scientology wasn't really hurting anyone. However, this was about to change. In January 2020, Braille uploaded a video titled "I Need Help," requesting that viewers donate to him to save his hometown skate park.
Anything that you guys can give would be incredible. We're trying to raise $200,000. Anything that you can give would be so amazing.
This led to videos such as Aaron Cairo gives Scientology $750,000 but begs fans for donations, whilst people on Reddit wrote, maybe just funnel the massive donations made to Scientology rather than using your viewer base of children to recreate your park. Comments read, did he have this much money when they had Carlos sleeping in the warehouse like a homeless person, leading people to make a realization? I heard that most of the profits of Braille go to donations to Scientology instead of to the skaters that make it what it is. The skaters were running all the brand deals whilst barely being paid.
It's like, you want us to be the face saying, hey, buy this product, do this thing, and then like we gain nothing from the brand deal. Like, we have sponsors of our own as well. We have sponsors that conflict with this brand deal that you're gonna try to make us go and do on our own, and we are getting nothing but our normal low wage.
And even built ramps for the channel without compensation.
They asked me to build it, and I built it the day of, from scratch, and they didn't even drop a penny.
Imagine working for someone, carrying the channel for $20 an hour. Then you hear that your boss donated $1 million to Scientology. In the process, Fetty and Carlos, two of Braille's most beloved members, left the team under sketchy circumstances. Nigel also announced that he'd be leaving, but would still be in the videos, just not as an employee. He'd later explain the shocking reason for this.
I left because I was making more off of unemployment than I was filming full time.
With pay rises being few and far between.
How many raises did you get?
In 10 years, one.
But in case conditions couldn't get any worse for the skaters, they somehow still did. As in 2021, Aaron came to the team with another wild announcement.
He goes, in 1 week from now, I'm going to business school for 5 months and I'll be back. And then we're like, whoa, like what the?
As a result, Gabe became responsible for running Braille completely, as Aaron disappeared to focus on business school.
2 months passed. No one has talked to Aaron at all. It's like, it's not like he's on the phone going, hey guys, how's it going? Oh, the videos have been good. Like, oh, you're doing really good. Nothing. It was just silence, like legit, like silence.
This disappearance lasted longer than expected.
The 5 months, it ends up being like, I want to say like 8 or 9 months. Then he goes away again. He's like, oh, I gotta go back. I didn't finish. It was not long, and then he was gone for again, like I want to say like 4 or 5 months, maybe even more. Then he come back for like 1 week or something. Then he was gone again, and I want to say the total time was about like 2 years, I think.
After 2 whole years of barely being on the channel, Aaron returned with a video titled "I'm Sorry," initially acknowledging his disappearance.
I've been absent from the videos. I know you guys know that. I'm back. We're getting back on track.
Before again claiming to be learning about business.
I did take some time for myself, and I did learn as much as I could about business.
However, conveniently upon his return, another video was gaining some traction. Aaron Cairo is the new leader of Scientology in San Francisco. Aaron had joined Scientology's executive team, as the time he'd supposedly spent in business school was actually him just completing more Scientology coursework. This, in combination with his absence, put immense pressure on everyone else at Braille.
And I'm sorry for being gone for so long. I know it's really hard on my team here.
So much so that they all began to quit.
He emerged as the leader of Scientology SF. In that time, this guy started quitting. Mowgli, Uzi, JD. And then when Gabe was the final straw.
As mentioned, this included Gabe, who at this point was completely running everything.
For the past 7 years, I've been doing all the behind-the-scenes stuff for the main Braille YouTube channel.
Comments read, well, there goes the guy that's been carrying this channel for years.
Honestly, Gabe was running the channel. Gabe was doing like literally 99.9% of the channel.
Forcing Aaron to take back over, who by this point seemed to be completely clueless.
Now we no longer have Gabe to plan, film, and make all those videos. The content is definitely going to be changing. And what you're gonna get, I actually have no idea. idea, but it's gonna go back to the roots of this company, teaching tutorials. Yes, we are gonna make weird boards, weird videos.
This was far from an innovative strategy, with the lack of fresh skilled content being obvious to all.
You look at the videos now, you look at the thumbnails now, you look at the ideas now. Terrible, right? On Braille's channel. Much worse than when we and Gabe were doing it. And that truly shows how much work we were doing.
This dropped the channel's views to just a couple mil per month, forcing Aaron to destroy their skate park.
I was trying to negotiate with the landlords to get a break on the rent. This is a huge overhead, it's tons of money to have a warehouse, and we just could not come to an agreement. And then I got a letter from their lawyer that basically just said, you have got to be out by July 5th.
Unsurprisingly, the audience offered no sympathy. That $750,000 you spent to go up in a spaceship to heaven could have been spent better, but in true Braille fashion, it was even worse than this. Ricky Glazer, one of the last remaining members, wasn't even told that the skate park was being destroyed.
I knew Braille was struggling, but man, I didn't know the park was literally getting destroyed right now. No one told Rick anything. And it's like, man, I really would have loved to know that, get one last sesh. Like, I poured all this blood, sweat, and tears literally into that place.
He was saddened by the sight of everything being discarded, which somehow offended Aaron to such an extent that Ricky was promptly fired.
Braille Skateboarding and Aaron Cairo both blocked me, Ricky Glazer, on Instagram.
Nigel decided to leave himself.
I will no longer be at Braille doing videos. Won't be doing lessons with them anymore, obviously, because there is no location.
Pissed off by Braille's blatant lack of care.
No good advice session, no nothing. 10 years of your life. I haven't even gotten like a thank you for all of the years of dedicating myself to the channel.
Aaron responded with a video of his own, claiming he tried to save the skate park.
You guys must know that I did everything I could to save the Braille house. I literally took out a loan on my house.
But with over 50,000 dislikes, it seems he missed the point completely. Aaron, no one is worried about the warehouse. They're worried about the crew you ghosted. Womp womp, you screwed the crew and that's who we cared about. He is legit more upset about what he did to the building than what he did to all of the people that made it what it was. Without a skate park or skate crew, the state of Braille is worse than ever. Aaron recently uploaded a video titled Thank You, just reading positive comments from 1 year prior, seemingly to convince himself to keep uploading videos.
I continue going because of comments like this. I absolutely love this.
Braille's viewership has fallen to roughly 5k per upload. Every comment section is filled with negativity, which Aaron tries his hardest to defend himself against.
Hiking across the Canadian forest, a group of high school boys were on the verge of a mental breakdown. They had just spotted a DEA van stalking them in the woods, because inside these kids' backpacks was over 400 pounds of weed. You see, these weren't your average high schoolers. These kids had a smuggling empire that had brought in 17,000 pounds of weed, and their parents would kill them if they ever found out. Undetected, the boys dropped to the floor to find a way around it. But Nate Norman, the leader of the group, shushed the others and flicked his night vision goggles to get a closer look, and began smirking at what he saw. These DEA agents they were so afraid of that could end everything that night were asleep in their van this entire time. And as the boys snuck by and made it home safely that night, Nate Norman, the leader of the group, had just made the easiest money he'd ever made in his life, $500,000. In 2001, two rival groups of high school nerds became the biggest drug smugglers in the United States. Evading the DEA, FBI, and Border Patrol for years, they had smuggled in 17,000 pounds of weed, making $32 million. But through jealousy, betrayals, and shady deals, their empires would fall apart before any of them could legally drink. This is the true story of the nerdy teens who became drug kingpins. Now, Nate Norman wasn't exactly a criminal mastermind. As a broke 19-year-old high school dropout working at Pizza Hut living in his mom's basement in Idaho, the closest he'd ever gotten to organized crime was watching Scarface on cable. Because with no degree and in a dead-end job, the American dream felt so far away for Nate Norman. Changed one day when Nate and his buddy Topher were smoking a J, flipping through Times magazine, and stumbled across a story that would change their lives forever. Canada had the best weed in the world, BC Buds, and smuggling BC Buds across the border? Oh, it's a $7 billion business. Wait a sec, Nate thought. Idaho's right next to the Canadian border. Now, while people knew Nate delivered pizzas around town, he also delivered sex. Although Nate's prices were high and his bud quality sucked. But knowing that the best buds in the entire world were just a few hours away, oh, Nate could sell the hell out of it if he could just get his hands on it. So that's when he turned to Topher and said, we should become international drug smugglers. Now, while this idea of a criminal enterprise sounds great to a 19-year-old, a pound of weed costs money, and they were both broke. Pizza Hut didn't pay great, and Topher worked part-time at Castle Park. But Topher, believing in his best friend Nate, sold an old boat he had dragged out of the lake for $1,400, and assuming that was enough to buy a pound of weed, the two head on to Canada with what was their life savings. But after coasting through the checkpoint, they quickly realized Canada was not what they thought it was. See, High Times made it seem like people sold pounds of weed on the side of the road, but it really just looked like the US, except kilometers. So empty-handed, after hours of searching for a vendor, the two head into a Canadian bar to at least make the trip worthwhile. Maybe Nate's plan was too ambitious, he thought. It almost seemed too easy. But old man Frankie, a regular at the bar, gestured at the two Americans sticking out like sore thumbs. As Nate and Topher walked over to him, they said, could you help us procure a pound of flowers? 1 pound? Frankie said he had dozens. Of Canada's finest, but it was all back at his apartment. And while Nate and Topher tried to contain their excitement, thinking this was their big connect for BC Buds, well, old man Frankie had just found his next victim. But inside his crappy apartment, the two realized Frankie actually seemed a bit sketch. But I mean, where else were they gonna go? They were desperate. How much cash you got? Frankie said. For $1,400. Is that enough for a pound? That's perfect. That's exactly what a pound costs, Frankie said. But as Nate opened up the bag to get a whiff of those BC Buds he had traveled all this way for, Frankie tells him that wouldn't be wise. I mean, they didn't want to get caught from the smell. So without even weighing, smelling, or barely even looking at it, the two hand over what was their life savings to a sketchy grandpa they just met at a seedy Canadian bar. And with a pound of BC Buds in hand, they began the hardest part now, trying to get home. Now, according to High Times, the Canadian border is 5 times longer than the Mexican one. But there's no fence. I mean, you walk in the woods, next thing you know, you cross international lines. And while thousands of smugglers hid weed in horse trailers, snowmobiles, sailboats, hollowed out logs, hell, even underground tunnels, hiking weed across the border was just the easiest, but also the riskiest. So the plan? Nate was gonna drive back home by himself, while Topher would smuggle their precious cargo, hiking 11 kilometers across the Canadian wilderness filled with bears by himself. Hours later, with dirt on his face, Topher saw his first sign of American civilization. Outback Steakhouse, where there's no rules. It's just right. With Nate parked outside, Topher hopped in for a celebratory smoke of their freshly smuggled BC Buds. It seemed like the plan had worked. It had all gone well. But after the first hit, something was off. This wasn't the creme de la creme BC Buds. No, Frankie had sold them Mexican brickweed at BC Bud prices. Or in other words, this should have been $400 a pound, not $1,400. Frankie had sold them buds that were grown in Mexico, smuggled into the US, smuggled into Canada, and then smuggled back down to the United States. And that's when they learned you can't trust anyone in the game, including the ancients, the elderly, and the weak. But luckily enough, the weed drought in Idaho was so bad they could actually still make money on this. Nate hit up his old friend Scuzz to have him sell it on the streets. And Scuzz was a connected dude, even at 18 years old. Selling it to every hood rat in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Days later, Scuzz came back with $2,800, double what they had bought it for. And with his business model proven to work, Nate turned to Topher and said, High Times was right. Why doesn't everyone do this? Because according to their calculations, Nate and Topher were shocked to find out they could make $3 million in just 14 months by doubling their money with every smuggling run. And to them, that seemed like enough. Because with $3 million in hand, the two could buy homes, start a business, and leave the game while they were ahead. Because when drug dealers get caught, it's always because they get too greedy and give themselves away, but that wasn't gonna be them. They promised to themselves no guns, no girls, nothing flashy. But little did they know that once you're in the game, there's no easy exits. Because while the rewards are great, the risks are even greater. With 1 pound became 2, became 4, became 8, and Nate was growing more comfortable driving thousands of dollars through the Canadian checkpoint, flashing a little disarming wave and a little lip smile. But today, as he coasted through the Canadian checkpoint driving to Preston, Canada, Nate really thought about it. This was the ticket out for him. He didn't need college. Hell, with a few more smuggle runs, he could buy his mom a car, and if he found a good grower, oh, Nate could make the big bucks. But then in his rearview mirror, he spotted those Canadian red and blue lights. Sirens grew louder. Nate Norman was getting pulled over by the cops. With American license plates, he knew he stuck out like a sore thumb. As the Mountie parked his car and stepped out, every step he took, Nate could only think about how more he was. But as he rolled down his window, the Mountie said, so hey, you guys smuggling? Well, because you're not gonna get any flour going to Preston. It's a bunch of loggers. You need to go to Nelson. Don't speed. This is a little warning. Yeah. Getting let off the hook and even a tip on where to find the holy grail of BC Buds, Nate was totally wrong. Canada was way different than the United States. Now, bigger than tourism, logging, hell, even maple syrup. In 2001, BC Buds was a $7 billion a year business in Canada, and Nelson was the capital of it. But why? Well, Canada had some of the most relaxed bud laws in the world at the time.
I generally feel there's a slightly more humanitarian government around here. It's not into putting people away for the rest of their life for their choice of herbs.
And hydroponic stores that sold tomato growing equipment sprawled all around the city. And the result was the golden age of BC Buds that were sought all around the world. And for Nate, this is what High Times was talking about. So walking into several Canadian hydroponic stores, Nate finally found the real BC Bud growers that could get him the product to bring down serious weight to the United States. And for Nate, the money would begin pouring in, while millions of Americans were just baked out of their minds with cottonmouth. But not anymore, with today's sponsor, Arup. Arup ain't any other water bottle trying to get all inside. Like all Camo would leave 7 miles, would exchange with the growers for Topher weight. Get yourself some flavored pods and see which one's your favorite, because I'm loving the raspberry lemon. On a typical run, Nate and Topher waited until dark and drove within a mile of the border on a remote access road, where Topher, dressed in all camo, would leap out and disappear into the trees. But instead of Nate driving the money over the border, Topher was carrying a hockey bag stuffed with cash for over 7 miles, would exchange with the growers directly in Canada, head back down to America. While back in the States, he would hand the bag off to Nate, who would hand off to Scuzz, who would hand it off to hundreds of dealers. And for all of this, Topher made $1,000 with each run, while Nate by this point had pocketed over 150 grand, more money than he'd ever seen in his lifetime. You see, BC buds were in demand, and Nate's operation needed to expand. With serious money coming in, the boys got serious about their methods. Topher hired friends from high school to help him run, since these hauls were too heavy for just one dude. By now, it was 6 Toyota 4Runners filled with runners that would head towards the border drop point where they would all change in the camo, slip out into the trees carrying hockey bags full of cash, up to 400 grand. Now, while months earlier they all said they wouldn't be flashy with their money, slowly they all began to get the things they'd always wanted. 4-wheelers, jet skis, plasma screen TVs, mini disc players, whatever they got, it was the most expensive version of it. Scuzz moved out of his mom's basement and told her he was renting a little crappy apartment, but in reality, he bought a lakeside home. Nate began throwing elaborate lingerie parties, inviting half of the town nearly every other week. And while as the boss, Nate should have been keeping tabs on who was too loud, well, Nate was actually the worst offender. Nate bought himself an 8-bedroom mansion, several stash houses, an Escalade with 24-inch rims, diamond chains, Dom Perignon, Gadsden straps, and 8 balls of nose candy. And like most drug dealers, became convinced he would become a rapper, so he bought studio time with his drug money. But not all was wild. Nate had found a lovely girlfriend that he had met at a church event. Just kidding, she was a stripper, and her name was Buffy. And Nate showered her with all of the jewelry, Gucci bags, trips to Cabo. And as foolish as it was to draw all of this attention to himself, Nate had just never been cool in his life. He just couldn't resist it. While his high school friends used to call him the Keebler elf growing up, those same friends were now working for Nate. But when Nate's mom asked him where he was getting all of this cash from, well, he told her it was his snowplow business, and then bought her a lakeside home, and she never asked again. You see, Nate had been a paper boy, a telemarketer, cashier, pizza man, but he learned that the only get-rich-quick scheme that actually works in this world is selling drugs, and Nate was damn good at it. A year later, the crew had swelled to 32 people, and they're moving thousands of pounds all over the country. Nate's janky operation? Nah, it transformed into a well-oiled machine. But even then, they still had problems. One night, the runners walked into DEA agents sleeping in their truck in the forest. On a 14-below winter night, they'd lost sight of the trail and nearly froze to death in the dark. Now, the drive home was arguably the riskiest part of the entire run. So Nate began rigging all of the 4Runners with explosives, so if they ever got pulled over by the American cops, they could just set the weed on fire. You see, the stakes were high because getting caught now meant a couple years in prison. I mean, this is 2002 after all. But to calm the runners' anxiety over moving thousands of pounds of buds across the country committing federal felonies, Nate Pinky promised them that if they ever were arrested, just give them a call from the jail, he would pay for their bail and their attorneys, and it would all be good. But Topher grew nervous with his flashy lifestyle and growing operation. He begged Nate to get out of the game, but Nate joked he would never stop until the cops got him, because in his mind, he could just pay for the best attorneys to get him out. So why not go hard? Because that $3 million goal? Nah, that's what Nate now made in a month. So to shut Topher up, he raised his pay to $8,000 a run, locking his best friend, the guy that had helped him start this entire thing, in golden handcuffs. But Topher's fears almost came true when a fight broke out over a girl at a 150-person party the crew was hosting. One of Nate's dealers shot a gun in the air to break up the fight, but nobody even heard it. So Nate, plastered as hell, shot off a .45 Magnum into the house. The crowd began screaming, everyone scattered, the neighbors called the cops, cars sped off and crashed into the fences, and Scuzz got pulled over on his way home with 20 grand in his pocket, nearly peeing in his pants. The cops, they let him go. And then the next night, they threw another party at the same house, equally as crazy. See, they felt invincible. They were rich. They were cool. And by now, the cops either didn't know about their operation or just didn't even care. In Nate's eyes, nobody had gotten hurt. Nobody had gotten caught. Maybe this could just go on forever. At 3 a.m., Nate gets a frantic call. Scuzz was robbed by 3 masked men. They broke inside of his home, held him at gunpoint, and wanted to know where was the cash and the buds, or else one of the burglars, Giovanni, was gonna chop his finger off. Now, for Scuzz, handing them 40 grand in cash and a couple pounds in buds wasn't the end of the world, but Nate had seriously ruffled someone's feathers because they knew not just what they were up to, but also where they lived. Now, Nate Norman wasn't the only teenager in Idaho who had an enterprise of smuggling in BC buds. Nicknamed Wang, he was born in Korea and adopted by insurance executives in Idaho. And Wang had grown up with a perfect life. He played the violin, honorable student, but at 17 years old, the kid broke bad. See, Wang began running his own wildly successful bud smuggling operation, transforming from the Kumon kid into a wankster driving an Eldorado lowrider, popping oxys and snorting yay all day long. In many ways, Wang was a lot like Nate, a nerdy teen who just grew into a drug kingpin, but he was also Nate's polar opposite. You see, Wang wasn't satisfied in pulling in millions with his friends. Hell no, he wanted the whole market. Now, Nate knew of Wang and other dealers in town, but figured there was so much money in the game that everyone could eat good. But no, Wang's thriving business had been falling apart since Nate's arrival, and Wang was growing desperate to gain back his market share. Sniffling his nose after racking a couple lines, Wang called up his old roommate Giovanni for a little job proposal, a hit job, to take out Nate Norman, promising to pay $100,000 for the job with a $5,000 down payment up front that he would get him later. Giovanni, a dude who had never committed a crime in his life, said why not? So Giovanni called his friends and headed to the Kmart to buy supplies for the hit job. A tarp, gloves, windbreakers. Wang gave him a couple handguns and for good measure, a knife as well, since Giovanni thought, well, you can't have fingerprints if you don't have fingers. Now Wang figured it'd be a really simple job. To exonerate himself on the night of the hit, he threw himself an alibi party to be seen by as many people as not murdering Nate. But instead of Giovanni doing the hit that night, they broke into Scuzz's apartment stealing the pounds of bud and 40K in cash, because Giovanni still hadn't received that $5,000 down payment yet. So we thought, why not make some extra money robbing Nate's crew first and then murdering Nate? Makes sense. Now, when Nate heard about Scuzz's robbery, he figured it was the cartel or maybe some other gangbangers in town, but he didn't even realize he was in a turf war with the only other nerdy kingpin in town, Wang. And for the first time, Nate was truly spooked. He moved out of his house, he rented another one across town, he started sleeping with a loaded handgun under his pillow, and Nate would try to lay low the rest of that summer, moving in with Buffy. But after breaking both of his arms flipping over his dirt bike, Nate developed a serious addiction to painkillers. And even worse, Buffy couldn't even take care of him, because she'd gotten a boob job. Nate was living in fear, addicted to painkillers, and worst of all, his girlfriend had really big boobs. On November 13, 2002, a lumberjack discovers a murdered boy in the forest. Now, police identify the boy as Brendan Butler. Brendan's parents were in shock. They told the cops he had played the violin. He was an honor roll student, a traditional good boy. I mean, who the hell would end his life? But digging further, the cops discovered Brendan Butler lived a double life. Under the nickname of Wang, he was a big-time dealer distributing buds all over the United States, and that his #1 business rival was Nate Norman. Now, when the headlines broke of Wang's death, Nate told his crew, who was questioning him about it, that he had no involvement in it. But I mean, who really knew at this point? Nate had transformed from a pizza delivery driver living in his mom's basement to a kingpin with a smuggling empire that even the cartel was jealous of. It just didn't seem out of the question that Nate could be involved, but Nate was having bigger problems to fry. Now, that month, some of Nate's dealers got picked up by the cops who found cash, drugs, and guns on him. Now, from jail, the dealers took their customary one phone call, and that's when the cops heard them saying, "Tell Nate, I'm in jail." The DEA, the FBI, and Homeland Security now knew that Nate Norman was the guy behind this entire operation. But what happened to Wang, or Brendan Butler? Now, you see, Wang had no idea his own hitmen were pissed off at him. He was so coked out and on drugs, he literally forgot he owed them money. So withholding that $5,000 for months, Wang took Giovanni and his crew to the forest where he wanted Nate's body to be buried when the murder was done. Now there, Giovanni asked him again for the down payment. Wang said, "Don't worry about it, bro." Giovanni got pissed. Wang told him to chill out. Giovanni grabbed Wang by the neck, squeezing harder and harder. Wang, hardly able to talk, begged for his life. But Giovanni did not know how to stop what he had started. Choking Wang to death, Gio slashed his throat to hide the fingerprints, took the cash on him, and left Wang's body on the exact spot that Nate's body was supposed to be buried. But now with the body being found and the murder and the fingers and the money, Nate knew it was probably time to step out of the game. Now, with the heat on Nate's crew thinking that he could be responsible for Wang's murder, all of the runners would meet at a stash house at dawn to pack up all of their things and skip out of town. But instead, when they got there, they kicked around, smoking weed, reminiscing on the good times. And then right then and there, across 4 states, serving 6 warrants, the FBI arrested runners, managers, dealers, everyone, except for Nate Norman. You see, while the cops had been tracking Nate Norman ever since Wang's murder, somehow he had outwitted the FBI, the DEA, Homeland Security for months, the same way he had avoided Giovanni. But without Nate there to pay off his crew's bail and all of their attorney fees, one by one, they all began to rat out Nate Norman and reveal the entire operation. But once Nate heard the feds had turned the crew on one another and told them all they were all going to go to jail for a very long time unless they got everyone, Nate Norman walked into the police station and the cops could not believe their eyes. They were expecting a hardened criminal mastermind, but they got a kid that used to deliver pizzas. Now, while the feds estimated 2,500 pounds were smuggled in reality, they had moved over 17,000 pounds of weed over the border, netting them $32 million. Barely out of their teens, these kids had embarrassed the United States government, and somebody was going to take the fall. Giovanni was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Brendan Butler. Scuzz and Topher were given 2 years in the slammer, and Nate Norman would get 12 years. And a sick twist of fate, had it not went down the way it did, Nate probably wouldn't be alive. Today, Nate Norman's out of prison, he actively runs an AC business, and it seems like life for him is doing good. In 2010, thousands of naked pictures of American Idol stars, senators' daughters, real housewives, and even school teachers were leaked by the internet's most hated man, Hunter Moore.
Hunter Moore. Hunter Moore is Hunter Moore.
Hunter Moore.
Hunter Moore. My name is Hunter Moore.
He was doxxed by Anonymous, investigated by the feds, heck, even stabbed because of what he did next. Because what everyone wanted to know was how did he get his hands on thousands of these private pictures? Now, he said on Dr. Drew that these were all revenge pictures sent in from pissed off lovers to humiliate them on his site, is anyoneeup.com. You know, where 30 million people a month saw, which made Hunter tens of thousands of dollars. See, Hunter was partying hard, copious amounts of drugs, hooking up with hundreds of chicks not a care in the world. But the real story of how he got these photos was far more disturbing. After the rabbit hole the FBI found when one girl's pics appeared on his site, well, it would just lead to the very satisfying and public downfall of the internet's most hated man, Hunter Moore. Now, the tale of Hunter Moore doesn't start out with where he was born, but rather of a tale of alleged lawsuit fraud that would make Hunter rich beyond his wildest dreams. How? Well, working a retail job, he rounded up some employees to fabricate a story about their gay manager allegedly touching them. Now, rather than calling the cops, he threatens a lawsuit and the company wants to settle. And this story just illustrates how low he is willing to go to make money at any cost.
So they come in, right, and they're like, well, we just want to know how it affected you long-term since the situation happened. And so, you know, I tell my story again, same old bullshit. Anyway, so Ray tells his story, and he just starts bawling, dude, like, he touched me. And I know he's not serious, right? So I have my head down like this, like I'm sad, but really, I'm trying not to laugh. So the lawyers, you know, they're like, okay, thank you, and they walk out the room. They're like, we're sorry this happened to you, you know. So Ray, as soon as the door shuts, he goes from, he touched me. He starts dying laughing, dude. And all of us in the room, dude, we all just start cracking up. And they come back with that final number, dude.
And that final number? 300 grand wired to his checking account at 21 years old. And Hunter just goes buck wild. He starts partying all around the world, ecstasy with the boys, doing lines off advancers, getting that taste of the party life. Every night was crazier, bottle service, girls, drugs, tattoos, and the tab, it was always on Hunter. But when Hunter's card declined a year later, that's when he realized he was broke. He had blown through $300,000 in less than a year, and Hunter felt so horrible for it. I mean, he could have used that money to start up his life, possibly buy a home, but no, he wasted it all away. So moving back in with his parents, Hunter tried to get his life back together, but he just couldn't get his mind off of that LMFAO party rocker lifestyle that he had just had a taste of. He grew depressed, and even thought about ending it all. Yes, over the fact he wouldn't get the party again.
I mean, I was close to myself because it was so bad.
But one night, he was messaging some friends, trying to send out some pictures of a girl. But when Hunter tried sending these pics to his friends, for whatever reason he couldn't. So he posted them on an old website he had, is anyoneeup.com, and sent the link out to his friends. And little did Hunter know, that site would change the world. Soon his friends started uploading their own naughty pics of girls they were hooking up with. It was in Hunter's own words, for the homies. But after a week, Hunter checks the traffic out of curiosity. 14,000 unique visits. In other words, this wasn't just the homies getting off to this anymore. Now, Hunter told himself, holy shit, I can make a lot of money doing this. Now, the idea was pretty simple. Someone could anonymously submit, private photos to Hunter through the site. Perhaps it's a revengeful ex, a recent hookup, or maybe even your own pictures if you're feeling up to it. And then Hunter would manually verify each picture that they're all 18 years old. And then he would upload them on his anyoneUp.com, and Hunter would make money from the ad revenue. Now, at the time, there were actually a lot of sites like this in this genre, if you will. And honestly, some were even worse. They would post your private pictures, and then you could have them taken down for $300, aka extortion. But, Hunter wasn't that scummy, but he did go the extra mile with his victims. See, along with the private pictures, he would link their Facebook account, their name, their address, what's their job, basically their entire docs. So if anyone searched these peoples on Google, well, the first image you would see is one of their hoo-ha. Now, within months, Hunter was getting a ton of negative publicity, but he really thrived off of it, stating in his own book, hate is what drives me. It's motivation. I shouldn't even write this because people think I'm a psycho. But with every hate comment, the traffic grew, and within months, the site had quote-unquote blown up. MySpace, Facebook, everyone was talking about it. Hunter started going on talk shows like Anderson Cooper, Dr. Drew Drizzle to farm even more hate, and people just couldn't get enough of it. Because once people heard about these awful websites from these TV shows, well, dads across the United States would have to make sure for themselves that it was just as bad as Dr. Drew made it seem, which it was. And then this cycle of negativity just kept the site growing. Bad press.
Basically, this is cyber. That's all it is.
I mean, cyber, that's way worse than real. I guess that's what you're saying.
More visits, bad press.
You do know what you're doing is sleazy, right?
I don't feel it's sleazy at all.
Really?
Yeah.
More submissions, because more content on the site meant more visitors to it as well.
It never stops. People are submitting all the time.
Now, to build a community out, every day Hunter hand-selected the queen or king of the day, and he would post them on the front page for all to see. And this led to people leaking their own spicy pictures to try to get adult acting jobs or to promote album releases, and this little culture was building. Because even on the opposite side, he had the Daily Gargoyle, and in Hunter's own word, the Daily Gargoyle was a daily post about a semi-fat chick with some f***ed-up titties or weird nipples. Nothing crazy, just something most people wouldn't And with this screw you attitude, much like Tugger Max of the day, a real cult of personality developed around Hunter. He started selling merch with his face on, he pitched reality shows to networks, and started throwing all of these parties across the United States. His AnyoneUp.com was now his main sponsor.
Were you disappointed when you were submitted to my site?
And it seemed like everything he'd missed in his life, the partying, the bottle service, the girls, it had all come back within months. Now, at its peak, Hunter said he was making about 30 grand a month just on the ad revenue. But what that little detail always misses out, just to run the site cost about 20 grand a month. But the girls, the drugs, the money, the world was limitless for Hunter. But the real question was any of this legal? Absolutely, because by law, these pictures came from users, not Hunter himself. He wasn't legally held responsible thanks to United States Law Section 230. Yes, the same law that protects YouTube from being sued for what it's a user post, and Hunter had that same protection.
You may be wondering, can Moore legally get away with this? Under current federal law, he's completely off the hook.
But what about all the revenge picture laws that make non-consensual images illegal? Well, a lot of those laws that we have today, well, they were enacted because of what Hunter did next. Because with the help of his attorney looking at the site top and down, Hunter legally was in the clear. But oh boy, that did not stop people from trying to f with him. Mountains of lawsuits would get filed against Hunter on the site. Cease and desist letters would just pile up, and Hunter would just pee on all of them. Now, the one thing Hunter did that I think was so cruel is he would link those revenge pics to their Facebook account, meaning all of the Facebook friends and their coworkers could see them as well. And, for that, Facebook would file a massive lawsuit against them, to which Hunter replied back with a picture of his wee-wee. I'm not even going to make a comment about it being small or whatever. It's pretty big. Whether it was hate or love, people just could not stop looking at Hunter Moore. He received daily death threats. Anonymous doxed him multiple times.
Hunter Moore, it's too late to expect us.
One woman's dad actually stabbed Hunter after leaking his daughter's pictures. And oh boy, 4chan began to f with him. Now today, anyone can find your address, your phone number, your name, your email, your job, heck, even who you voted for, all on data broker sites across the web. And the worst part, anyone can look at it for free. But with today's sponsor, Delete Me, they have experts that scour the web to remove for Delete Me text like, hey, for Delete Me. Out of the hands of Vince sent you. Remember when I said that he had to manually verify each picture on the site to make sure it was up to speed? Well, 4chan took notice of that and, started uploading the most disturbing pictures he possibly could to the site, all because they knew Hunter would personally have to see it.
With all the attention, we had more weirdos and more weirdos every day submitting to the site, and we were dealing with a ton of underage Pictures that were submitted every day, and a lot of animal abuse, and people that have been submitted and posted on the site in the past who had died within the year that the site would been up. People would find the pictures of them dead and post them along their pictures.
But did this make Hunter have any sympathy for his victims? Absolutely not. He said all of his victims were sluts, that they asked to be abused by sending these nudes. They deserve to lose their jobs and embarrass their family. Or, as he said on Dr. Drew,
do you feel bad about doing this to, I mean, you don't know these women, you don't know anything about them.
No one put a gun to your head and made you take these pictures. It's 2011, everything's on the internet. I don't know how you can point your finger at me. You took the picture. I mean, I've been justifying this in my head for over a year and a half of, the site, what I do in the site.
Now, to keep the site growing, Hunter needed a constant supply of content. I mean, he told everyone these photos were submitted by the public.
Just anonymous people give you the pictures. Why you?
I mean, that's kind of what makes it easier, I mean, it is all anonymous. I don't know these people.
And that's also what kept the site legal. But when one of his victims, Kayla Laws, spoke up, well, that's when the goddamn tide began to change.
Kayla Laws is one of Hunter's many humiliated victims. But here's the problem. She says she had photos of herself on her computer, but never sent them to anyone. So how did they end up on his site? Kayla says she was hacked.
Your daughter said she was hacked, correct? Well, I could say I was hacked. I never created the site. So that's usually the first, usually people that are embarrassed who made mistakes, usually try fall back on something else. I'm sure she sent the pictures to a million different guys and just ended up on my site just like everybody else.
But then when other women started saying their pictures had been hacked and also placed on HasAnyoneUp.com, in a really sad way, no one believed them. No one took them seriously. I mean, instead they were shamed into admitting that maybe they just sent it to someone. But Kayla was so confident no one had seen it before. She had taken 100 pictures of herself in a dress. One of them had a nip slip, and that one nip slip photo was the one on HasAnyoneUp.com, where millions of people saw it and Kayla was distraught and in tears. But when no one believed her in the public eye that she had been on HasAnyoneUp.com, where millions of
I think I'm done. I did some concentration curls, 2 sets.